Hey, this is B from Kongs and today we're gonna do a full showcase of my custom point blank shooter cab right after this. Alright, so I turned on the lights because I wanted to showcase this amazingly beautiful point blank custom cabinet. Let's take a look at the cabinet design and artwork first. This is a Game Room Solutions mid-size shooter cabinet that's been customized, and I'm going to show you just a little bit about what's going on there. But this artwork was done by none other than Oncore Martinez, who did an amazing job with this custom point blank artwork. This is resembling a version of the point blank cabinet that was, seldom seen in the US. This might have been based off of the Japanese version of Gun Balina, but there it is, some custom Kongs artwork. He did an amazing job recreating this from scratch by hand. There is not any high quality artwork of the point blank cabinets out there, so Oncore had to recreate a lot of this on his own and drew this by hand. This is a custom one of a kind cabinet. I venture to say one of the best looking point blank home arcade cabinets in existence. Let's talk about the screen. This screen is a 24-inch monitor that has been squeezed and wedged into here by none other than the master modder Bobby Vu. Bobby Vu had to route out the sides of the cabinet. This thickness here is actually going into the side panel, and I have a 24-inch monitor that's shoved in here. Normally they recommend only up to a 22-inch monitor, and it fills it out perfectly. You can see the marquee here is, has a little bit of spots here, but you can't tell too much if you're looking at it in person. I probably had to do a better job of putting that on, but I still think it looks absolutely gorgeous. The entire cabinet is complete. I have my sound system there. I'll show you guys the back in just a second, but this cabinet, from the design, the monitor, looks super amazingly gorgeous. So you might have been wondering why the riser looks like it's a little bit cut off. Well, there's a certain reason for that. Bobby Vu loves his second monitors, and guess what? He installed a second 22-inch monitor into the riser of the cabinet. What I did was I took the artwork and I attached it to the back of this plastic foam here, added some magnets, so when I want to leave this off, I can just put this back on. But when I'm playing my multicade, I have a second screen to put on as a second marquee. So check this out. That's the game for point blank there. If I move the monitor game to the next game, it's going to change the riser to the marquee of whatever game I'm going to be playing there, as well as on my game list. So this, I'll go over the game list in a little bit, but I have, as a multicade, just the ability to play and put on the marquee on the bottom riser there. So shout out to Master Modder Bobby Vu for making this an extra amazing accessory. Going back to the different playlists that I have, so this will just pretty much play and put up the marquee for everything. So I really like this feature that Bobby Vu did. 22-inch monitor, and when it's done, I can just cover this up and still make it look really complete with the artwork that Oncore did. So after the cabinet is put together, the most important thing about your gun cabinet is what guns you're going to be putting in the cabinet itself. So I've opted to use real Namco arcade shell guns that have been modded with Gun4IR technology. These do have the recoil feedback in it. I got my pink gun, I got my blue gun. Again, these are real modded arcade handguns, which this one is really clean, hasn't been used, doesn't have a ton of scuff marks on it. This is a really awesome, good quality gun. Raymond from RPEG Electronics helped me put these together. This one was painted and powder coated, so that's why it's a little bit more shiny. Has a little scuff marks, but it's still in great condition. You can tell it was used there in the arcades, but it's been modded with Gun4IR technology. So what is Gun4IR? Gun4IR uses these 4 IR sensors here, which I had to mod the cabinet heavily to make it actually fit behind the 24-inch monitor, which is already routed here. You'll see in the video, you can see the infrared black lights that are here, but when you're looking at this in person, you cannot see the glow of these black lights here. So on screen in this camera shot, you can definitely see where the IR sensors are, but this allows for some of the most accurate gameplay you can get from a light gun. And when you're looking at it in person, again, it just looks like a little black mark. You can't even see these while you're playing the game, and it's really out of the way. So I really like this option for Gun4IR. It doesn't have the border that you could for the Sindens. I would say Gunfires are probably the best light gun you can get on the market, but it is probably one of the more expensive options because you have to be able to mod an existing gun, whether it's a Namco gun like this, or you can use some of the PlayStation gun cons or things like that you can use. A Jolt from PlayStation 1 era was a really popular gun with recoil too. So those are options, but they are highly expensive. We check out RPEG Electronics website in case you're interested in them, because you can go through various options from him. Another good option that you might consider are Sinden light guns. So Sindens are really good in terms of accuracy. They are definitely more affordable and more available. You do have to set up some of the borders for your gameplay system, so I would say setup is a little bit more complicated on the Sinden light gun, but once you set it up once, it should be pretty nice. But you will have the border on your screen versus having the IR sensors on the side, which are a little bit more inconspicuous, especially when you're looking at this without the camera on. So you can see I have a bunch of Time Crisis games on here, and if you remember playing Time Crisis in the arcade, using the real Namco games with the recoil is definitely a great feeling. These are amazing, solid, haptic feeling light guns that will recoil. If you hold down the button, it does a little automatic recoil for games like T2 and whatnot. But with Time Crisis, you absolutely need some pedals. And so what I did was, if I had real Namco guns, I was gonna go with real Namco pedals. These are hard, real versions of Time Crisis pedals that have been repainted, refurbished. I have a pair of them here, and what they do is they will plug into a USB port right in the front. And so I'm gonna have these stored on the side. I probably will see if I can make this match the cab a little bit more. These are just kind of white. This was how it was sent to me from RPEG Electronics, but these are high quality, heavy duty, real arcade pedals that you can move around, that are mobile. And when you're ready, you'll just take it and plug it into your slot there, and it's gonna work with your games. And so that's a really nice option to have for the pedals. These guns are nice, but there's only one trigger button, so you only have one button for games where you have a second trigger like a grenade or something. I'll have that set to the trigger button or to the pedal button instead. So that is one of the limiting options when you're using a real Namco gun, is that there aren't extra buttons attached to it. I do believe Raymond might have an option where he's modded extra buttons into a real Namco gun. So if you're building a light gun shooter cabinet, definitely think about having extra buttons. It definitely helps gameplay for shooters that have multiple buttons. But if you like just simple arcade, this is still one of the best options, I believe. So good, it's just really expensive. All right, let's go over the control panel so you can see what custom buttons I have on here. So this is again a Game Room Solutions mid-size shooter cabinet, which has all these holes for buttons, as well as a joystick here to navigate the menu, and then an extra slot for your USB here. So I have a coin button here for player 1, a start button there. I did some custom logo art. I know it's hard to see there. I have a coin and start for player 2. I have my select button, a back button, and an exit game button, and this was just an extra button which I mapped to tab in case I wanted to go into the settings menu for any of my main games. This is a joystick there, so navigating the menu, I have a Launchbox custom playlist where I put together a custom playlist of different titles that I thought worked together. So these are all my Time Crisis games. Going back into the main menu, here are the different games that I've set up. I have a PlayStation list here, so PlayStation games, going through this list here: Dead Storm Pirates, Endgame, Guncom, Gunfighters, Ninja Assault, Vampire Knights, and so that's the game list that's included here. I have classic Nintendo games, and I got this list put together with the help of Joel Gorski and Raymond from RPEG Electronics. So these are all classic Nintendo games, and I can navigate the menu very simply using the joystick. Going to my back button. I have a House of the Dead playlist, tons of House of the Dead games: House of the Dead, House of the Dead 2, House of the Dead 3, House of the Dead 4, House of the Dead Remake, House of the Dead Overkill, Typing of the Dead. It's all on here, so we're gonna click the black button there. We have a ton of Buck Hunter games. I sold my Buck Hunter arcade cabinet because I could play a lot of the Buck Hunter or hunting type games on this cabinet. I just won't have that cockback feature for a big old shotgun. I'm happy to be able to still play these games in any capacity. I do miss my shotguns though, but I do have a ton of hunting games here. The next thing, I have a playlist that I consider what are all-time light gun games. And so here I have Jurassic Park, Lethal Enforcers 1 and 2, Lost World, Maximum Force, Point Blank 1 and 2, Police Trainer, Virtual Cop 1 and 2, Virtual Cop 3, Area 51 with Maximum Force, Carnival, Judge Dredd. Those are just what I consider some of the top marquee light gun games of all time. You know, some people may think they have a better list, but that's okay. These are true light gun games. And you might be thinking like, hey, where's games like Terminator 2 or whatnot? Well, those games weren't actual light gun games. Those were mounted railgun games. So this entire playlist is dedicated to games that were pretty much like your T2s or your Alien Extermination, that had guns that were mounted, and then you would move them around with potentiometers to be able to play shooting games. So your Operation Wolves, your Rail Chase, Revolution X, these were not true light gun games. These were controllers that were using kind of potentiometer movements from an X and Y axis to be able to play games like Star Wars Trilogy is on here, Steel Gunners 1 and 2, Terminator 2, our favorite, Transformers Human Alliance, Zombie Raid, Alien 3 The Gun, Aliens Extermination, Beast Hunters, Behind Enemy Lines, Dragon Gun, Dream Raiders, Gunblade, one of my favorites, Gunbuster, and LA Machine Guns is actually one of my favorite games from Sega Model 3. Let's Go Island, I really like all these games here. Luigi's Mansion Arcade, pretty fun. Okay, these are all rail shooters or mounted gun games. Again, I came up with these playlists on my own. Nobody really has these. I just thought it makes sense, so I put together some custom logos there. All right, let's get into our modern shooters. So these are games where I don't think these were I would consider all-time light gun games, but these are some of your more modern graphic arcade light gun games that are pretty fun. So Sega Golden Gun, Silent Hill, Star Trek Voyager, Too Spicy, Zombie Panic Wonderland, Bang Bang Pew Pew is like a modern version of Point Blank, Banzai Escape, Blue Estate, Confidential Mission, Death Crimson, Epoch, Far Cry, Friction. These are just some games that were included. RPEG Electronics, Raymond put together an amazing playlist. I just kind of put them together in some custom different settings. This is interesting. This is that Mazan Flash of the Blade, where it's actually a sword that you're playing, but you can use your gun to slash around, kind of like a shooter. We got some Gundam stuff, some gun games, Ninja Assault, Operation Ghost, a very fun modern game, and Rambo. Again, some modern gun games on here just for your shooting pleasure. I also have some classic gun games. These are gun games where I consider them to be, you know, pretty classic and niche. You might not play them often, but you know, a lot of you know, Lucky and Wild is a driving shooting game. You can play it on here. You can't drive obviously, but you can have it on here. I did a lot of these animated kind of classic games, like the Daphne games where shooters, and like Mad Dog McCree is on here, Final Shooting, NY Captor, One Shot Kill. These are a lot of random shooting games that are very, very classic style. Rail Chase, so kind of very, very niche shooter games that I just put on here that you know, put them all into one big playlist. Again, these aren't your typical games I feel like you might have been playing in the arcade, but they're there and you can play them. So these are all classic gun games. Hogan's Alley, you remember that, right? So these are all classic things. There was arcade versions of that too, not just on the NES, but again, these are some fun ones too, where it's the Laserdisc shooting games. There's actually quite a few Laserdisc shooting games that I wasn't sure that I knew about, but there are there, and those are some of the ones that you can play. Next up, we have a list of Wii games. So Wii console was actually one of the great consoles that had a ton of games that you could play using the Wiimote controller. So a lot of gun games just use a Wii controller instead of real gun games, and you have a huge library of Wii games, including some of those Laserdisc games, Nerf Battle Elite, Sniper Elite, Target Terror. There's a ton of Wii shooting games that work really well using the emulator for for Dolphin. You can play a lot of these Wii games as well. So I have a lot of Wii games that are listed here. Some of those Wii games are part of that Buck Hunter list. There's a ton of Buck Hunter type games in the Wii library, but this is everything else. Alright, now that you've seen the game list, let's go into the back so you can see the guts of what I did to put this together. Let's start with the speakers. I have an amp that's plugged into here, and as well as kind of some car audio speakers that are pushed down to there. This is the back of that 24-inch monitor that is here. I actually don't know the brand of this monitor here, but I will look it up and put it on the screen in just a second. But Bobby Vu was the one that routed this out. You can see he decased the entire thing, and it's pretty much fitting into the side of the cabinet with just a little bit of space left for the artwork on the side. The next thing I had to do is for the LED sensors, I had to make sure I put them around the side, and so they're just kind of mounted here and held down. And then we're gonna jump into the rat's nest of everything else that's here. Let's take a look at the back of the control panel. So there's the control panel. I have all my buttons wired into an iPAQ 2. So this allows me to use this almost like a keyboard, and it's already compatible with MAME. So I have an iPAQ 2 for all my buttons that are there. This is just a generic joystick. I didn't want to waste like a SanWa or anything on there just for that. I could probably clean this up, and this actually hurts me that I haven't actually tied this down and wired it up, but I didn't want to waste time making this video and cleaning it up. And even more embarrassing is the rat's nest that is down here. So this is the PC that I'm using right now. So all these little wires here that are going everywhere. Oh man, I'm embarrassed by even showing this off, but this is it. This is a small form factor PC. Here's a link to kind of the budget PC builds that I put in a lot of my arcades, so you can see what's happening there. I'm just gonna take off the cover so you can see what's happening. I'm probably gonna leave this cover off permanently, but I just wanted to showcase what's happening on the inside. This is a small form factor PC, a Dell 7010 with a i5 3rd generation and a GTX 1650. So you might want to upgrade your PC a little bit more if you're going to be playing some of the higher end games, but for all your classic main games, this is more than enough to play those games. But the GTX 1650 is going to help with some of your modern PS3 games as well as some of your other modern PC shooters. I have everything plugged into an inlet module switch here. So this is surge protector that's going into this inlet module switch on the back side, so everything is nice and clean towards that. And then on the left hand side, I wired the power button for the PC to this external button right there, so I can turn off my PC with just a single button press. Everything kind of cleans up really nicely. I really like the Game Room Solutions cabinets because you can easily access the back panels and everything. So I never really felt like I needed to clean this up because it's hidden away here, and I'm embarrassed, so don't look at this. This is not indicative of my normal work, but it's just for me. If I was working on other people's stuff, it'd be nice, a lot nicer. But you know, if you're working for yourself, let me know in the comments if you have a rat's nest, if you're modding stuff all over the place. Like, this is super embarrassing. There's like ground wires all over the place. It works for me. Hopefully it works for you guys. Yeah, just ignore all that. Alright, so now that you've seen everything, let's get into some gameplay and show you how to navigate the menu. So say we're going to go into Time Crisis, we're just going to press the select button, pick some of our favorite games like Crime Crisis 1, that's a one-player game. Who needs the Arcade1Up Time Crisis when you have your own beautiful cabinet? So I just hit the select button, it's going to take a second for it to pop up, and there it is, Time Crisis with the bezels. So when it plays these games in the correct aspect ratio, this is now a 19-inch screen that's put into here. So I was thinking I wanted to go a little bit bigger. I like the size of the Game Room Solutions mid-size arcade cabinet. You can see that it matches the scale of the rest of my Arcade1Up cabinets there, and so this fits perfectly in my arcade room. When I play games that have a 24-inch screen that fills up the whole thing, it looks really nice, but this 24-inch screen was big enough for me. I downgraded from a 27-inch screen, but it's still pretty good for me. So once you play your game, you can just hit the coin button and then hit the start button. You can play the game. So you got the story mode there. I gotta plug in my pedal real quick though. Hold on, let me plug in my pedal. Alright, sorry, that took a little while. I had to plug in the device. So let's put that in and let's get it going. So I have my pedal right here. There's my pedal for my gun. Gonna step on it. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm playing left-handed too. This is actually really terrible. Left-handed shooting is no good if you're not left-handed, but still pretty accurate. Feeling pretty good. Again, 4-hour sensors are super accurate here. One of the best quality light gun options on the market right now is using the gun 4-hour sensors. You can calibrate it even more, but this pretty much acts like a mouse, and the trigger button is your click button, so you can easily map a lot of your guns to this setup very super easily. Alright, and when you're done playing the game, all you gotta do is just hit this exit button there. So the exit button will take you back to the menu. You can navigate to your next game. You can back out to one of the other sub menus. And let's test out one of the games that's gonna go full screen actually. So we'll go to say House of the Dead. So right now House of the Dead was a classic game, but right now I have it stretched to be able to fill out the whole screen. So here is an example of House of the Dead 1, which you can see from Sega Model 2 will fill up the whole entire screen. So you can either stretch it, you can go back to normal size, but this is the gameplay with an entire screen. You can see some nice demo gameplay there. So this is a game using a Sega Model 2 emulation. really simple. And so for games that have classic reload, you just shoot off screen and it's gonna reload. This actually has a vibration feature, so when you shoot off screen, it's actually gonna vibrate. So playing House of the Dead with a gun that can actually recoil is pretty nice. I should be probably playing with my other hand because left-handed shooting is not good. Shoot off screen. Alright, here's some better gameplay with me and Mrs. Kongzero playing these games. Reload. You have to keep pressing it though. You failed. You got one. Hit the hand. Oh no, you can step on it to shoot like a disc, like a missile. So Mrs. Kongzero, what do you think of the new point blank themed cabinet?
It's bigger, the screen.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The
I
guns.
like how you subtly hit the little sensors.
Yeah. Looks nice.
Looks nice.
Looks nice.
Very nice.
Very nice. Alright, and lastly, when you're all done with your game, since this is a PC build, I have my Launchbox playlist here. Again, I just made some custom art. This is what I call my shootercade. I'm just going to navigate to the shutdown button, shut down everything. It's going to shut down the PC, and when I'm done, I'm going to flip the switch on the power switch on the back. All my lights will turn off, my marquee will turn off, so you do have to, be a little bit careful about that. So we're going to go to our back, kind of hit this power switch on the back right there, and then everything is turned off. So that's how you turn off the arcade. Looking really great, matches my arcade perfectly. So let's get into final thoughts. Alright, so that's the full showcase of my custom point blank cabinet. Thank you Bobby Vu and Oncore and RPEG Electronics and Joe Gorski for helping be a part of this particular mod project. I do think it is one of the best looking cabinets in the home arcade space. I don't know, let me know in the comments if you think you find a better point blank cab out on the market. I don't think you'll find one because the artwork is so freaking clean. This is a dream passion project of mine, and I'm so happy it took several years to get this made. I really like the yellow T-molding trim. It's one of my first cabinets where I installed my own T-molding. So the Game Room Solutions cab, I really give them an A+ for offering this size cabinet for your home arcade. They have different skins and things that you can do, but if you want a custom cabinet, you might be able to skin your own version of games. I really have to say that I like the Namco gun arcade games. This is the biggest investment. These are super expensive guns. Each gun costs almost $600, if not more. But if you want to build a cabinet like this that's very similar, I might recommend going with the Sinden light guns. They're the most available light guns that you can get that do have recoil features. It just takes a little bit more to set up. And then from a monitor standpoint, I don't recommend fitting the 24-inch monitor. You'd have to have somebody like Bobby Vu that can do it for you, or you can do a 22-inch monitor instead. So those are some of the caveats. Again, this is a custom cabinet build. This isn't really much of a tutorial. If you want to follow along and do what I did, it's probably really hard. In terms of the games and the software and everything, I don't have the ability to share most of this stuff with you, but I highly recommend going out to RPEG Electronics if you're into the Gunfire R, or for anything like Sinden builds, check out Joel Gorski from Retro Wizard Arcades. He can point you in the right direction, get you set up for some of this stuff. If you're interested in the PC builds, I'll leave some links to kind of the builds if you want to try this out on your own. But hopefully that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like it, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm really close to 10,000 subscribers. Would really appreciate it. I'm going to give away a ton of stuff once I hit that mark. So thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.